I am sitting by the fire because I need the warmth. The world is increasingly cold. And my video today is a plea to people who are wearing masks, even though they know when they stop and let themselves think that what they're doing is wrong. They know they're healthy. They know that the mask is actually making them uncomfortable, that it probably doesn't help, that in fact it hurts. It hurts their own health and it hurts the health of society. My video is directed at those people today, the ones that are on the fence, the ones that have had enough, but the ones that still think it's better to just hold your breath, literally, and cooperate and be nice and think of the people who are frightened of this pandemic. The pandemic that has absolutely no outward signs of being real. I could tell you all about how there is study after study out there proving that masks don't work. Study after study out there proving that masks cause long-term damage to your body, and especially to the brains of children. It breaks down society. I could show you all of that, but that's not what I'm going to do today. What I want to do today is appeal to your inner self, your higher virtue, your common sense. And I'm going to show you several videos about social conditioning and the danger that it poses. I'm going to start with this one.
We set up a hidden camera experiment to see if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. You might be thinking you'd never go along with this. Or would you? After just 3 beeps, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away?
Elaine, please.
Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do? She's now conforming to the rules of the group without them even being there. Now, watch what happens when we introduce another outsider who doesn't know the rules.
Everybody was doing it, so I thought I was supposed to.
Think she'll teach the new guy what to do? We kept the cameras rolling as more unsuspecting patients arrived. And slowly but surely, what began as a random rule for this woman has now become the social norm for everyone in this waiting room.
Stand up at the sound of a tone. And the first group were all actors except that one woman. And they trained her. Even though it makes no sense, even though nobody has even bothered to tell you why, you stand up at the sound of this tone. And so she did. She just did, because she didn't want to be an outsider. She didn't want to be a problem. She wanted to be nice. She wanted to take into account the culture that surrounded her, right? But the astounding part of that video was that she trained the next generation of people, none of whom were actors. So this nonsense waste of time, Pavlov's dogs, literal training like a circus animal, was passed on to people who were never involved in the experiment in the first place. And when you wear masks just to be nice, just to go along, like the woman in the video, you're training everybody. You're training the next generation. And therefore, the controllers, the ones that know all of these experiments and understand human nature because it's been their whole job for 70, 80, 100 years to study human nature, they will count on you to train the next generation. There won't even have to be a law or a rule. It's just what people do. We just wear masks for some reason. We don't get to see each other's faces. We don't get to breathe healthy air. We stew in our own juices. We compromise our immune system. You see why they're not bringing in actual laws about this? They don't need to. You will train the next generation. And you might be saying to yourself, well, no, listen, there is a bad virus and people have a right to be safe from it. You might be thinking that way in a collectivized hive mind mindset. You think to yourself, well, I don't know. I don't know what to believe, so better safe than sorry. Plus, it's really just no big deal to me. I'll just slap on this mask when I run into the store. That way, I don't have to argue with anyone. That way, the people who really are scared aren't scared of me. Yada, yada, yada. This is what you're saying to yourself, I know. But what about the people who aren't scared? The people who know the facts? Don't we get any shake in this society anymore? Are we going to just change everything we do to please people who are afraid of XYZ? What's next? What is next? What else will you do for people who are afraid? They've already conditioned us for this through myriad means. Cigarettes. Everyone, people have a blind spot for this. But you don't need to be so freakishly afraid of cigarette smoke. The biggest one, though, in my opinion, that prepared us for this mask thing was peanut allergies. Somehow, we flipped everything on its head. If you have a child who is allergic to peanuts, you have to teach them how to avoid that. We can't make all of society change their habits for your weakness. Otherwise, we have to do that for everyone. And by the way, why don't they do that for everyone? What about people who are afraid of dogs? Why haven't we banned dogs? I could go on and I could make a big list of all the things that people are afraid of, but we don't ban. I mean, apparently there's people afraid of balloons. There's tons of people who have PTSD, and yet we have fireworks displays. We don't ban it. We ask the people individually to cope with their weakness, cope with their illness, cope with their fear. This is what we do. But this reversal now, they've put the onus on all the healthy, strong people to actually hobble themselves for the sake of the fearful, for the sake of the sick. This is wrong, and you cannot possibly build a successful society on that. But you say to yourself, maybe the doctors are right. I mean, that surely all these doctors, there's this scientific consensus out there about masks from all the public health officials everywhere. Well, I want to show you another video now, which is more serious than the first one. It's more serious, and I'll discuss why when we come back. This is a little tiny portrayal of something called the Asch experiment in conformity. Have a look at this.
The Asch experiment is one of psychology's oldest and most popular pieces of research. A volunteer is told that he's taking part in a visual perception test. What he doesn't know is that the other participants are actors, and he's the only person taking part in the real test, which is actually about group conformity.
Please begin. The experiment you will be taking part in today involves the perception of line length. Your task will be simply to look at the line here on the left and indicate which of the three lines on the right is equal to it in length. So, for example, if you...
The actors have been told to match the wrong lines. The volunteer will be monitored to see if he gives the correct answer or if he goes along with the opinion of the group and gives the wrong answer. In the first test, the correct answer is 2.
1. 1.
1.
2.
1.
Once again, the correct answer is 2.
3.
3. 3. 3.
3.
The Ash experiment has been repeated many times, and the results have been supported again and again. We will conform to the group. Again, we're very social creatures. We're very much aware of what the people around us think. We want to be liked. We don't want to be seen to rock the boat, so we will go along with the group. Even if we don't believe what people are saying, we'll still go along.
1.
1.
1.
1.
Group dynamics is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology.
You see how easy it was to get the outlier to go along with the group who were obviously wrong? Now, there's longer versions of these videos about the Ash experiment where it shows that if just one other person refuses to say the wrong answer in that line length experiment, then the person who was being experimented on, they will also say the right answer. And they obviously know the right answer. It's length of lines. You saw it for yourself. It's ridiculous that anybody would give the wrong answer in that circumstance, don't you think? But that's how strong social pressure is. That's how strong our urge to conform to a group is. And so when you're looking at the masks around you and you count up the numbers, you say to yourself, oh, I guess I should just throw a mask on then and risk all the health effects of that and break down society, more or less, and think of a whole future for my own children where they'll have to wear these things on their face forever. Because I just don't want to be the one guy who does what's right, who says the right answer. I mean, please overcome this. The other thing about this Ash experiment that I want to point out is, how do we know if this is so true, if social conformity, if pressure like that works so well? Imagine at the climate science labs. Imagine if you have a bully boss who has been approached by, I don't know, somebody at the World Economic Forum or the United Nations where they want to bring in the Great Reset or Agenda 2030. And they've paid off the boss and maybe one of your coworkers. Now you're outnumbered 2-1. So when they bring this crazy science to you, and they insist it's right, but you're looking at it and you're saying to yourself, I don't think so. It doesn't look right to me. Would you have the guts to go against them? In the Ash experiment, where it was blatantly obvious which line corresponded to which letter, those people didn't have the guts to say the truth. So now consider all the science labs. Consider the COVID labs. Consider the COVID testing labs. Consider politicians. Consider public health officials. Consider police. You want to be the guy who doesn't say what's right? And the masks are exactly the same. You see how in cities where it's not necessary to wear a mask, they just recommended you wear a mask. What happened was, at first, people didn't really do it. But as more people did it, it snowballed because the social pressure, of course, increased. Do these two things seem unrelated? I don't think they're unrelated. I don't know how we can be sure that consensus science isn't just the same thing as the masks, isn't just the same thing as the Ash experiment, or that experiment with the woman standing up at the tone in the doctor's offices. I think it's the same thing. And so therefore, when I see people wearing masks who I know are only wearing masks because, well, it's no big deal for me to slap a mask on. And then it's easier for me because nobody looks at me funny. Plus, I can use this handy excuse of I'm actually helping other people deal with their own fear. You are building a whole society based on cowardice and lies. And how do you think your children will fare in a world like that? And if I'm right, that in scientific labs and academic circles and public health offices, if I'm right that only a couple of bullies can change the course of consensus science, just like they did in the Ash experiment, then maybe we have to look closely at what that means about a whole lot of things, like vaccines, for example. We see how well bullying works. Do you think bullying is absent from the scientific labs? You got to ask yourself that question.
3.
3.
All right. I want to end by turning this around. I want you guys who are wearing masks just to go along to get along because you think somehow it's going to reverse itself without you even trying. Like somehow magically they're going to take masks away if you just continue to wear them. No, it's up to you. You take the mask away, okay? Each one of us takes the masks away. So I want to leave you with this video to show you how that can happen.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. See, it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not 2 nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made.
The first follower. You don't have to be the guy alone, the first guy that goes into a store and is the only one without a mask. People like me will be that guy because I got armadillo skin. I don't care. I mean, don't get me wrong. It still feels nerve-wracking at times. For me, even. But you don't have to be the first guy. You can be the second guy. Next time you see someone without a mask on, take yours off. Try it. Because otherwise, you're just leading us down the road to, I'm just going to get a vaccine to go along and be a sport. And soon enough, you're going to hang the people who want free choice about their own bodies. You're going to hang us all out to dry. Just because you think you're doing some nice guy thing. And it starts with the masks. They're going to gauge whether or not they have the numbers to make you stand up at the tone for no reason. And they won't have to make a rule. Because all of you people who go along just to avoid confrontation, you are the force that will imperil freedom for everyone else. And I resent that. So next time you think you're being a good guy by wearing a mask because you're just allaying the fears of all the fearful people, well, you've forgotten about a group of people, and that's people like me, who are brave enough, bold enough, and strong enough to resist that force that you caved into. And believe me, you don't want a world without us. We're the only ones standing in between you and complete tyranny. So maybe next time, instead of trying to please the fearful, weak people, maybe try to please and get on the good side of the people fighting for your freedom.
There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak.
Let me think, just let me think.
In fact, even now, orders are being shouted into telephones, and men with guns will soon be on their way.
It's chances that...
Damn it!
Why? Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to meaning, and for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth. And the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there?
You designed it, sir. You wanted it foolproof. You told me every television in London.
Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression. And where once you had the freedom to object, to think and speak as you saw fit, you now have censors and systems of surveillance coercing your conformity and soliciting your submission.
We need cameras.
How did this happen? Who's to blame? Well, certainly there are those who are more responsible than others, and they will be held accountable. But again, truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror.
Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. I'm going to stop talking now. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Please subscribe. If you want to contribute to my work, I can be found at a P.O. box in my hometown. Check my website, amazingpolly.net. That's where the address is. I will leave a link to that in the description box. I'll also leave a link to the videos that I featured herein. What else can I tell you? I guess that's it. Like I said, subscribe, spread the word, and be brave, be bold. There's only one way out of this BS new normal, and that's you. You. If I can do it, you can do it. Peace out.